Hello, welcome to Catholic Life, ordinary people with extraordinary faith. I'm Deacon Jody Moscona. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am so excited today, and I'm truly blessed to be joined by the First Lady of the state of Louisiana, Mrs. Donna Edwards. Hi.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited.
Honored to be here always.
I know you came last time and we talked about the chapel, and we don't have to revisit that, but it was awesome.
Great.
So
Yes.
it was just fantastic.
Thanks.
So how are you?
I'm well. Just working really hard. You know, we just ended the legislative session, so we're going pretty fast right now.
Good. So we got two topics today. The first topic we're going to talk about is foster care.
Yes.
And it's really close to your heart. And tell us a little bit about how you got involved
Well,
with it.
it is. You know, I always say you never know the path that God's going to place you on. And so back in 2016, I was approached with a group of people from New Orleans, from the Louisiana Institute for Children and Families. And what they do is they have children from the foster care program that are of the age of 18, 19, 20, and they go and they testify at the legislature. And they are interns and they work there, and that program had not got off. They wanted to get the program off, and so we met, and one person is a foster parent themselves and had 3 children, so we just started talking about that, the program within our state, and also with Marquita Walters, who is the Secretary of Department of Children and Family Services, and what the needs were. So 2016 was a pretty tough year for our community, our state, with the flood, as you remember.
Right.
One of the things I want to say about 2016, so during that horrible time that we in this area were dealing with the flood, my husband was pretty much stationed at GOSEP dealing with all the tragedy of the area, but there was a meeting that was supposed to happen, and he had canceled everything because he was focused on the flood, and there was a meeting that was supposed to happen, and they were going to cancel this meeting. He said, no, I'm not going to cancel this one meeting. This is important to our children. And it was a meeting with Wendy's Wonderful Children. And so they were looking to grant 5 states money and really resources through caseworkers to come into our state. And he kept that meeting, and from that meeting we were chosen as one of the 5 states. And so it has been a tremendous support for older children, children who may have some health issues, mental health issues, disabilities, maybe just hard to place children. And so Wendy's Wonderful Children sent caseworkers into our state for that meeting, and were able to help support our system by finding those children a place to stay. And I want to give you some numbers. So at the end of 2016, with really trying to build up the Department of Children and Family Services, at the end, I remember John Bell, our governor, came to me and said, Donna, you're going to be so excited to hear what I just found out, that they just reported that we had one of the highest in history children that were adopted out of the program, foster children that were adopted, 735 children.
Wow.
By 532 families. And also, to say, out of that, 70% of the children were placed back in the homes of which they came from, which was very important too, because that meant that home and those parents received the counseling and support that they needed to get back on their feet and to receive those children back into their lives. Because the truth is, you know, in all situations, children, regardless of how they're treated, unfortunately, they always want to go back to their home,
They want to go back
to their
to
parents
yes.
and what they know. So I remember him saying, now the next year rolled around, he goes, you know, we're probably not going to ever, you know, be able to beat that number because it was just an extraordinary historical number. And so in 2017, 771 children were adopted by 548 families.
Wow.
And then I want to say that in 2018, 912 children,
Wow,
912 children were adopted by 631 families. And once again, in saying that, 70% were placed back in their homes. So we're doing a lot of wonderful things in the program. We still have a lot of work to do. One of the things I just want to shout out through my Louisiana First Foundation. You can go to LouisianaFirstFoundation.com. I have a link that takes you to Louisiana Fosters. So what we did in 2017 when we had time, we started a summit. We brought in people from all over the state that were doing some amazing things in the foster care program. And we set them down at tables and networked and talked about ways we could improve. And from that meeting, we had our first summit, and we've had another one since then. But we've been able to identify agencies, faith-based groups, organizations across our state, such as Crossroads NOLA. Has a great organization where they recruit families within their church, and they have a great program lined up. There's a place on the North Shore called James Storehouse, does amazing work with the foster care and CASA and
we've had CASA on many times trying to recruit.
Yes, great group.
Right.
And we've had other groups. Go Bags is a GAUX is a group, a lady from Shreveport who's now statewide, who collects items and puts them in a bag. So when a child is pulled from a home in the middle of the night or in the morning, they have something to take with them. It's a backpack, and it's not in a grocery bag or brown sack. So those are some great things.
We're actually going to do a show in the future with some of those groups. So those are groups that
we need to highlight those.
We need to give them support.
Yeah, we have Braveheart that's right here in Baton Rouge doing some great work. One of the things that occurred to me through a conversation. We were talking about ways that we could improve in the foster care. So they started something called QPIs, Quality Parent Initiative. And so I was talking to the Children's Cabinet today about how that was going, and it's really improving the dialogue between a foster family parent and a biological family and parent, and their conversations, and really centered around the child and what's important for the child. And so out of that, I was just talking today that, so they've implemented something called a comfort call, which happens immediately once the child is pulled from the home and placed in the foster home. There's a call that is made by the caseworker to the biological parent, and they can speak to the foster parent and just make a connection that everything's okay. Sometimes it's a good situation with the biological parent, sometimes not, but the call has been made and there's a comfort level there. The next thing I'm so really was impressed with is icebreakers. So within 5 days of that child being taken from that home, the biological parents and the foster parents sit down at a table with the caseworker, and a picture of the child is placed on the table, and the discussion is not about what happened, what should have happened. It's about the child. Making sure that the child's needs are met. Maybe they have certain medications, maybe they have a certain way they do things, but really centered around the child. And that's what is so important.
Gifts or talents that can be...
Absolutely. Things they love to do, their favorite foods and music, whatever it is. And so just a new way of thinking things through, but it's all about the child.
So people watching and they're saying, so what do I do? What can I do? And oftentimes that's the place where we need to give them some help and push.
Exactly. And so one of the things I'm trying to do through the Louisiana Fosters is provide a website, a platform where people can go and they can find out what to do. And really, we're working on that actually now, but putting the local agencies in your community where you can give. Find out what's happening in your own community, whatever parish you're in, and how you can support those people who support the foster care program. Not all of us can be foster parents,
but we can all support it.
Absolutely.
In a lot of ways.
In so many ways, and giving back. So I'm excited to see where this is going to go, and engaging our churches and our community, our faith-based, because the children are our foundation, and we say it all the time, but they really are our future, and it starts with the child. And so if we invest our love, our resources, our time, our energy into really developing the child, then we're going to
give them hope.
We give ourselves hope, because our future looks brighter. They're the light for the future, and so by doing that, we're going to all be better off in our communities.
So for those that are watching, the foster program initiative all comes under the umbrella of a state agency, but really the state needs us to support it, and by us we mean people of faith, people of that have some gifts that they can give, or maybe some resources they can offer. And that's really what we're asking. So where do they go? They go to Louisiana Fosters.
Well, if you go to LouisianaFirstFoundation.com and click on Louisiana Fosters, it will take you to a website where you can get information and ask questions.
And we'll put the website
on
the screen so people can see it and they can get it, a link, and whatever. Now, once somebody says, okay, this is what I can do, and that sort of thing, as a church, what can we do to support them?
Well, funny you should say that. So, you know, I'm speaking with someone one night, we're talking about there's, at any given time in Louisiana, there's over 4,500 kids in the foster care program. 4,500 kids in the foster care program at any given time.
This is unbelievable.
And there's actually over 4,000 churches in our state.
So if everybody took one.
So there you go. So actually we came up with the phrase, one church, one family, one child. So if every church would recruit one family within their church to go through the foster care program, to do the, you know, take the classes and the initiative, and then the church, and then the family, you know, foster a child, and then the church wraps itself around that family and that child. I mean, can you imagine what we can, just changing the life of that child, one, changing the life of the community, but just think about how your church will benefit from that. I mean, you know, but having retired teachers come in and do some counseling, some tutoring, you have counseling, there's all kinds of benefits from a church, and it's not that hard. We could do this.
And then once the family engages, the church community can support the family who's engaged, so it can domino through the whole church community.
That's right. Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, listen, we're going to take a short break.
Okay.
And then I know you have another hot topic for us at the end of the break, which I'm really excited to talk about. Yes. Not excited about the topic, but I just want to get the word out on it. We're talking to the First Lady of the state of Louisiana, Mrs. Donna Edwards, and she's been talking about Louisiana Fosters, and you can go to her website, which is?
LouisianaFirstFoundation.com.
And click on Louisiana Fosters, and you can get the information you need, and it'll instruct you on how to proceed to get information on how you can help the foster program in Louisiana. When we come back, we're going to talk about a very serious topic, human trafficking, and I know it's very important to you, and we're going to talk about it after the break. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Our greatest responsibility is caring for God's children. And at any given time in Louisiana, we have over 4,000 children in foster care. But we also have over 4,000 churches.
If every church recruits one family willing to foster one child, and that church family wraps themselves around that foster family in support of that child, we can change the direction of that child's life, their future, and the future of our state.
While not everyone has been called to be a foster parent, we are all called to support those who have. And there are so many ways to lend a helping hand, whether through volunteering our time tutoring, babysitting, providing a new coat for the winter, or helping to pay for Little League or dance lessons.
You don't have to open your home to make a difference in the life of a foster child. You just have to open your heart. One church, one family, one child.
I'm Renee Richard, host of Roots of Faith. Our new series, Exploring Our Parishes, will do exactly that. These shows will allow you to meet the devoted and dynamic leaders of the faithful in the Diocese of Baton Rouge. Journey with us as we explore our parishes.
Welcome back to Catholic Life, ordinary people with extraordinary faith. Thank you for staying through the break. I know you're excited as I am to have the First Lady for the state of Louisiana with us, and welcome back. Thank you for staying. Absolutely. And we're going to switch topics. Sure. We were talking about foster care in the first segment, but this time we're going to talk about human trafficking. I know it's dear to your heart, so tell us a little bit about it.
It is. It's really not a topic I was familiar with at all. I don't know that I had even heard of it before becoming First Lady. So I remember the first time it was brought to my attention through Father Jeff Bahi, and he came and he met with me and he was telling me about this, and I remember just kind of having an overload, like trying to process all of this and thinking, wow, this is a foreign issue. This is not in Louisiana. And he said, I told him I had invited my Catholic daughters from AMEET were coming to the mansion for an afternoon reception, and I said, would you like to tell them a little bit about what you're doing? And so we had the Hospitaller Sisters of Mercy who came with them, who are just amazing women who are social workers and nurses who work with these girls, and they were just groundbreaking, getting involved in it. And so
what did he tell you? I mean, how did he explain it to you? Because I'm sure we have people watching saying,
so
what did he say?
Well, he just told me, that it was happening with girl, and because we have the I-10 corridor and the I-20, it's really one of the worst corridors of trafficking in our country, believe it or not. So as I processed, like I said, all this, I remember him. Well, the week was coming. I was in that week, and we were going to have it that Sunday afternoon. And I thought to myself, these people are not going to believe this. They're from AMEET, Louisiana. They're not going to believe or understand this human trafficking. And that very week, in the paper, was a girl who was trafficked by her own family. She was found in a cage. It was recently in the paper, and she had a little bit of autism, and they were using her to buy drugs, and I thought, well, wow, this is in our own backyard. This happened in our parish, in our community, and so it was a wake-up call for many people who heard it that day. And it's really information that's, to be honest with you, it was very hard for me to listen to. I almost wanted to say, I don't want to hear any more of this. It's just too much, And the more I realized, we went to Rome to visit the Pope in 2018, and that was, we went with Metanoia Manor, which is a really first of its kind, where the building is on state property. So the state has helped with it. It's run by sisters. And we have clinicians and faith-based and civic organizations that support it. So it really shows, if everybody comes to the table, what a difference we can make.
Right.
It's right, in our community where we take in girls that are under the age of 18. The average age is 13.
Whoa.
And in Louisiana, the age goes from 2-year-old to 65. And so, I know, very hard to process that. And so most of the time we don't. We just let the information lay there, right, because it's just too hard to think that through, really. But we're doing some amazing work. We have a great, in the legislature, Senator Ronnie Johns from Lake Charles is doing some amazing work in that area and has been for quite some time, moving some legislations, some of the toughest really in our country. So through that bipartisan group coming together, we've been able to, raise the age of traffic victims from 18 to 21, and just really do some hard work, but also educating the public, educating law enforcement, educating the hospitality industry on what to look for. And so as I've traveled around to different parishes, the governor and I both have been traveling around over the last 2 years, but one of the things I do is I have meetings where I may have a Children's Advocacy Center representative there, a CASA worker there, caseworkers, law enforcement, sheriffs, and together we sit at the table and we just talk about it. Now let me go back, because this is 2019 and 18, but in 2017 they had a series of 9 summits across our state through the Children's Cabinet under the leadership of Dr. Dana Hunter, and they across the state. So they did the same thing on a larger scale within those 9 areas, and they processed a lot of that information. In fact, they have this book of State of Louisiana Sex Trafficking Project Report. So it tells a little bit of where these young people are coming from, runaways, abused children, sexually abused children, and how, what we're doing to educate. So at one point, when law enforcement would pick up a child, they would pick them up, being abused, or maybe they were runaways, and they would address them as maybe a juvenile delinquent. Mm-hmm. Now we're rethinking the way and asking questions, which has been so helpful to a lot of these agencies, a lot of these groups, asking the questions. They're able to say, ask the questions of the child and find out that this child is being trafficked. Mm-hmm. And so it's changing the whole conversation. So now our numbers are actually going up in our state because we're doing a better job in identifying them. That's right.
It usually happens that way.
Absolutely. And so I'm just so proud of the work we're doing, and everybody is jumping on board. There's so many agencies. I'll name you a couple that are working. So we have now Truckers Against Trafficking.
Yay.
Things happen in that area, so they're working. And we have some other groups in our state that are working in human trafficking. Free Indeed is another one that's faith-based. It's in Covington area, or that area, that take in nonprofit. Mm-hmm. And then we have Eden House and Hub Ministries in Shreveport. A group, their arm is called Purchased, and they do some amazing work. And so through our trip to Rome, through the global summit that we've had, through the 9 summits that we've had statewide, we are making some huge movements in human trafficking and really making a difference in the lives of these young peoples. One of the things, also United Way supports a program called 211. And I was not familiar with 211. I don't know if you are.
I'm not.
So it's a free and confidential service that helps people across North America find local resources that they need, and they're 24 hours a day. So everything from financial, domestic, health, disaster, and human trafficking.
Oh.
So if anybody, a veteran, anybody that needs support, now there is some limitations. It's, in the bigger cities, the resources are,
Right.
knowledge of it is available.
Focused, right.
It's a little bit harder in the more rural areas. But for someone, maybe a person who is, and that word trafficked, that's not a familiar word to us. And so trying to teach young people what that means. Mm-hmm. And so we have going into high schools and talking to young people about certain situations, things that are happening here in our state. For instance, there might be a person on the outside recruiting a boy on the inside of a high school, who then has a relationship with a girl, and he grooms that relationship to be most like a boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And so unbeknownst to the young girl, and then a picture is taken, and then that picture is used by the man on the outside, who is really recruiting this young man. That picture is used to really bribe her and tell her that if she's going to be exposed if she doesn't do what they tell her, and there's so many stories like that. Yeah, I was just speaking to someone today about a good family. And their child, their young daughter, got caught up in a situation where she was having relationships with an older man, and she was groomed, if you will, for about 6 to 8 months, and then it started very gradually. And you cross over, that young person crosses over before they even realize it.
Right.
And that's what the scary thing is. And you don't want to have fear tactics with our young people, but you want them to be aware of their surroundings and have knowledge of it. Same thing with internet, girls on the internet, and there's so many sites that just pop up, and pictures are taken, and then that's used to scare them. And so I think one of the things I would say to your viewers is, as a mom, as a grandmother, as an aunt, uncle, whoever, talk to your children and the children in your life, and really give them a foundation where it doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter what happens. We love you, and we are there to support you. And if you've done something, give them people that they can go to. If they don't want to come to you, if something happens like this to you, go to Aunt so-and-so, go to Coach, whatever, who the person is in their lives. But really, it's preparing them and having that dialogue, that conversation with them to prepare them for if it ever happens.
Right, and then the adults have to know where to go to get help.
That's right.
For the
Right.
person that was the victim.
That's right. And we're doing so with the Louisiana Louisiana First Foundation. I have a click you can go to, and we're actually putting some more. We're in the process of updating that. It goes to Metanoia Manor, shows you where you can help contribute to that, gives you some information, and there's a video there. But we also want to network and connect people, so we're going to be putting groups in your area that are working in those areas. We also can put connections to, law enforcement or just counselors or child advocacy centers, and to be able to get some help.
So this problem isn't just here in Louisiana.
No.
It's universal.
It's global. It is global.
And but we can only control our little part.
That's right.
So that's why going to Louisiana First Foundation website and getting the information and educating yourself about it, and then knowing the signs.
Knowing the signs.
To look for.
And I think we have to also remember, we used to say all the time, that's not our business.
It is our business.
It is our business.
Right.
These are our children. These are our people. These are our friends and family. And so it is our business. If you notice something that doesn't seem right, we all have that little instinct, and if you don't notice something that doesn't seem right or a situation, it's probably not.
Right.
So don't be afraid to call law enforcement and say, look, I just don't feel good about this. Could you, look into this situation happened in Lafayette or some area that there was an abandoned building. And there were people coming and going within this building, and lo and behold, somebody reported, I've noticed this happening, and they discovered a human trafficking ring.
Wow.
And there's always people say, well, what can I do? What can I do? You can help organizations that are helping human trafficking, Metanoia Manor, Free Indeed, Hub Ministries, all the ones across the state. But also Marianites of the Holy Cross from Covington. If you go to their website, marianites.org, they have a prayer card. And print that prayer card out and pray. We forget about, we talk about the power of prayer, but we have to invest in the power of prayer, because there truly is power in that prayer if we use it and we invest ourselves into it.
That is, what a great way to end the interview, because prayer is something we can all participate in.
All fall back, yes.
And that's a great place to get that. So go to the website and get the prayer card and pray so that you can support the efforts to attack this evil that's going on.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you so much for coming in.
You.
I love having you on,
Absolutely.
and thank you for all the love that you give to all the different groups that you support. It's evident.
Well, I have the support of my husband too, so
he's doing a good job too. So thank you.
God bless.
And thank you so much for watching today. You've been watching Catholic Life, ordinary people with extraordinary faith, and we want to thank the First Lady for being with us today. And go to those websites and find out the information and try to support those that are addressing these bad issues that are facing us in Louisiana and universally. Till next time, God bless.